Switch sides, yeah.
Hello everyone. Thank you all for joining us live at the IFMA World Workplace Conference. My name is Stephanie Scibilia and I am the Director of Channel Partnerships at SafeTraces. And I'm here today to talk to Fred Holder about innovative solutions for long-term facility operations. But before we get started, I do want to formally introduce SafeTraces and what we do. At SafeTraces, we provide indoor air quality verification to actively measure airborne pathogen risk through our aerosol tracing technology. And we are currently supporting building owners, MEP, and commissioning agents with a strategic HVAC assessment approach through smart commissioning, which is kind of like a traditional commissioning with an added verification of system operations to reduce airborne disease transmission and energy consumption, and all communicated through the UL ventilation and filtration mark. So to learn more, feel free to contact me through LinkedIn or visit www.safetraces.com. Okay, now back to the reason why we're here today. Let's talk, Fred.
Let's do this.
So Fred Holder is the current facilities manager for Georgia Tech Campus Recreation Complex, a 300,000 square foot multi-use recreation and aquatics facility serving the Georgia Tech community. Prior to his role, he has 15 years in higher education facilities experience in various roles from technician to supervisor. He is an agent of transformation and has a track record for building highly functional teams and processes that have helped the units he has been with and improved to grow. Also, if you don't know this, but Fred is an avid cyclist, and I actually can attest to that because he biked to one of the events that I met him.
Yep.
He's also a father, husband, and a ride leader for cycling group Sober Rides Atlanta, and we've actually talked earlier this month. I'm riding myself for the Great Cycle Challenge, which helps fight kids' cancer, and we have 3 days left to help raise funds, but I know that you've been a participant in that as well.
Indeed, 3 years in a row. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. I love riding.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. So thanks so much for having me this morning. It's a real pleasure to be on with you. And hi out there, LinkedIn world. Great to see everyone. Thanks for joining us and tuning in this morning.
So, I appreciate you taking the time to get here, and I'm just going to hop right into some of the questions. And I want to talk to you about some challenges you are exhibiting in today's FM world, especially through, what has traditionally been an FM, a facility manager's role in operating facilities. You're now having to look at different ways to combat some new challenges that you have. So talk to me about those new challenges. What are you now dealing with now that school is back in session and you're having others bring all different types of situations to you?
Absolutely. At the Campus Rec Center, we support the entire campus for Georgia Tech. Its community, affiliates, alumni, everyone. We even have an athletics team that's housed in our building, the Georgia Tech swim and dive team. That's their home facility. So it's a unique facility that has a lot of moving parts to it. One of the biggest challenges that we run into is honestly increased enrollment and just space management, right? So as enrollment grows, our usage of space grows, and finding creative, unique ways to redesign the space, especially our fitness floor. It's about 17,500 square feet, and we're constantly having to rearrange equipment and make sure that we have enough equipment for our student body and our patrons to use.
Yeah, you had mentioned to me in an earlier conversation that you're just seeing this uprise and people wanting to come to the gym and work out and causing lines and people waiting for hours, to get on a set of machines and everything like that. Why do you think that's happening, and what are you all using in regards to technology or information to kind of help improve those processes and those experiences for those students and faculty?
I think one thing is we're back to some quasi level of normal after in this post-COVID world that we're in, so people want to get out. The Campus Rec Center is a huge source of community for our student population. They find their friends there. It's a really great place to connect, shared interests, support one another. So that's one reason. And the Campus Rec Center has always been a hub for student body. There's always great stories that you hear coming out of Campus Rec about people finding community and first year students who had nowhere to go and they ended up at the rec center and just that's where they found their home. So I think that's the biggest reason. We use several different technologies through entrance gateways and things like that to track usage, number of people in the building. Also, we do a manual head count. So we have fitness attendants that go around on our various floors with equipment, and they do a manual head count to verify that. So we're not just watching the numbers, we're actually checking and verifying, right? So,
is it something where you're seeing a steady stream of people coming in all day long, or do you have waves of people coming in as the day moves on? And then in running your facilities and your systems, are you tracking that? Are you moving with operating your systems with those ebbs and flows, or you're on a consistent basis?
Yeah, we do see it in waves, right? So early morning, our facility opens at about 5:30 in the morning every day, and so we have a huge wave in the morning till classes kick off around 9, and then it kind of dips back through the middle of the day. Then we get a lunch rush, and then we get an evening rush. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're looking at some different technologies to help us not only track those rush times, but also inform our users as to when those rush times are on our website. So we're looking at different space management technologies that we can integrate with our current systems. That's a challenge,
yeah,
right? Because systems don't always talk to each other.
Right.
So that's something that we're currently looking into.
That's really interesting that and I kind of want to talk about that more, that you're using new and innovative tools that you have to help manage facilities.
Yes.
So if we could kind of stick with that a little bit, how are you looking at new ways through technology now that it's available to help in your everyday, and what types of technologies are you using to help make those decisions and gather that information?
Right. A lot of technology has really kicked off in the last 5 years, and one of the things I did in one of my previous roles was the vendor that we used for our roof inspections. Mm-hmm. A lot of the buildings that we had slate roofs, which you can't walk on to inspect a 12-12 pitch slate roof. So they brought out drones and actually used unmanned aircraft to go up and got 1080p video. They would take still photos. We could zoom right in on problematic areas, and then we could diagnose the problem from the ground, looking at this drone basically, at 250 feet in the air. And we don't have to put a person at risk on a lifeline doing that. We don't have to worry about extra damage to the roof. That's one of the ways that we're using new technologies. I got a lot of resistance starting to do that, right? And so we had to navigate what traditional was versus, hey, this is new technology, and we really need to start embracing some of these things because they can help us in the long run. Another thing that I like to do is, we're talking about innovative ways and technologies, but innovate the way that you have relationships with your building occupants in your facility. Relationships are huge to me. As a facility manager, I don't know what's going on in my building if the people won't talk to me about it.
Right.
So those technologies can be, especially in large organizations or global organizations, you can't always see those people face to face. So technologies like instant message systems that your company may use, utilize those, use them frequently, and make that a primary source of contact. It becomes a conversation.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. And then also, internally within your team, not only do you want information and feedback from the occupants who are using the space itself, but also to manage your internal team on, problems or issues they're seeing or getting ideas. And, you're at Georgia Tech, right? You're
Yeah.
You have, you know, some of the best minds at your disposals and students. So, you know, it would be assumed that, you know, bringing innovation and technology to use to help solve your problems would be something that is embraced if it makes sense, right?
Yes. One of the great things about the role that I have in the institute that I work at is we are encouraged to experiment, right? To innovate. That's one of our core principles, is innovation and creating that next great thing, right? So we're always encouraged to take a chance. The worst thing that can happen when you take a chance and when you experiment is that it doesn't work. You haven't gone forward, but you haven't gone backwards. You may still be at the same place. So experiment, try. Eventually you'll find what works best.
Take me through, if you can, the process on, you know, you have a problem that you've identified and you've done your research and you found technology, whether it's something like AI, or I'm going to put a plug in SafeTraces, where you're using tools to help assess your buildings and systems. And take me through the process of vetting that type of technology to presenting it to your board members or your higher ups, and getting the support to then being able to implement it.
Yeah, great question. And one that I was early embracer of is FLIR imaging on roof inspections.
Yeah.
So my background being a maintenance carpenter for as long as I did, I got the roofs. That was my responsibility. And one of the ways that I tried to get better at roof inspections on a lot of the older buildings, especially those with like coal tar pitch buildup roofs or even modified bitumen, was the FLIR technology, where you can see cool spots or moisture trapped beneath the layers. So what I did was I hired a vendor to give us one of these reports, and then I did one with the camera that my institute bought at the time that I was working with, and they matched. And I was able to show my leadership, look, I can do the same thing with this $500 camera that this company did with whatever their cost was, I don't remember now, but it was several $1,000s.
Right.
And I showed them the cost value that I could do that as a technician and give them the same results. And then if they needed to have someone come in and verify those results, we could. And so again, experiment, test it, deploy it, retest it, and ultimately it ended up me performing those tests on a roof that I had been saying needed replacement. The test actually showed, yes, that roof did need replacement, and it went on to get replaced.
Yeah, I think it's really important to show you need to be resourceful when you can, right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody is operating with limited budgets, and it's how do you do this so that it makes sense for your needs and to properly run your buildings and facilities, but then also brings a value or a return on investment that makes sense for your buildings.
Right.
And, you know, some upfront costs are worth it for the back end outcome.
Sure. Yeah. Long term, if you can show that long term, right? Another one that I did was recoating roofs, modified bitumen instead of a tear off and replacement. Most of the time, if the roof is in fairly decent condition and just needs to be coated, you can do that for about a third of the cost of a re-roof.
Yeah.
And again, I did the same process. I had a vendor come in. Whoops, there goes the microphone cord. I had a vendor come in, give us a proposal, and then we had a vendor come in and give a proposal for a tear off and replacement.
Yeah.
And you could see it, and you know, so.
So talk to me about, I'm going to talk a little bit about commissioning here and being able to talk about assessing your buildings to understand where they are, whether it's in regards to indoor air quality or roofs. Give me your opinion on commissioning, which helps verify that systems are properly running, are maintained, whether it's you're implementing a new system and trying to get that started, or using an existing system and trying to make it run better. Is this something that you think is necessary and you are looking to incorporate? I know this is kind of a trend that a lot of buildings are going on because, again, paying attention to the details, making sure things are running on a more continuous basis and maintained haven't proved to save more money on the back end. So just talk to me about your thoughts on that a little bit.
So it sounds to me like you're talking about ongoing or continuous commissioning.
Correct, yes.
And I think that's an element of preventative maintenance. It has to be. As you're going through, you may upgrade one air handler but not another, right? And maybe they serve adjacent spaces. You need to have that, in my opinion, consistent commissioning going on, whether it's quarterly, monthly, annually, whatever it is. It needs to be a part of your preventative maintenance program so that you can tell when systems are starting to not perform optimally.
Right.
And then you can make whatever changes you need to. Or whenever a new standard comes out and you're forced to meet that standard with older systems, those systems might not be designed to meet that standard. So, for instance, air filter swaps, right? The new standards say you have to have XYZ air filter, you put them in, it can actually restrict your airflow and make your air handler work harder, leading to early end of life. So having a constant commissioning system on things like that, especially your heavy use and heavy wear, think about that. You do it with carpet, you do it with paint. When you're walking through your buildings as facility managers, we're constantly looking at things. That is a form, in my mind, of consistent and constant evaluation and commissioning.
That's so funny you mentioned the pressure drops on your filter levels being higher filter MERV rating on a system that may not be able to handle it, causing the system to work harder. And we've actually have case studies that we have performed where we saw exactly that and proved that through our assessments, where a MERV 13 was used in a system that was only running a MERV 8.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't check the back pressure drops when they put in these MERV 13s because of recommendations and everything that's going on. Well, through our testing, we were able to show that it actually created a worse environment. So not only are you making your systems work harder and could do possible motor blowouts because it can't get the CFM needed to come through, but you're actually, in regards to the environment, creating a stagnation of air, which is not allowing you to move and cycle the air as intended and as the system is designed. And that is part of commissioning, right? Being able to identify that and prove that that's what's happening, to then be able to inform how do you need to operate your systems, what CFM, what outside air percentage, and then making sure that those things are in check, because as you all know, as you're managing facilities, people touch things. People are uncomfortable. They change settings. They change the way systems are ran, whether it be for HVAC systems or lighting, and you have to come back and reevaluate. Look, are we where we need to be in order to run the system effectively? And I think that's where ongoing commissioning plays a very important role. And I love hearing this talk about people understanding that now and coming more to terms with it and wanting to include this as part of your process. Yes, there's an upfront cost to it, but it has huge savings potential on the back end, being able to maintain that.
It does. If you have a good system in place already that's tracking this information, then anytime you make a change to your system, as minor or major changes, something as simple as filters, or maybe you're pre-filtering for some kind of project that's going on in your building, something like that, you can monitor that information. It's all about having the information to look at before and after, And also being able to digest that information too, right? We're also in this age where we're gathering so much data. You need to learn how to digest it and use it to your advantage. And I think that's also where help from partnerships with MEP, mechanical engineering, plumbing firms, commissioning agents really help take that information and that data that you're gathering, or whether it's your on-site team, the engineers' on-site team, and talking about it, planning, having a strategic strategy to understand this, digest it,
and to use that as actionable ways to improve your systems.
Yes, you can have all the data in the world,
Right.
but if you don't know what it means, it does you absolutely no good.
Yep.
And you don't have to know everything as a facility manager, so lean on your partnerships, your internal teams, your vendors that supply you the information you need. A lot of them will give you consultations for free. If you have the data already and they don't have to perform the test, they'll look at it and tell you what it means.
Yep.
So lean on your friends and neighbors and other FMs. Maybe, reach out. The IFMA Engage forum is constantly active, and I see every day there are people in there asking questions, and it's a great resource. It's one that I found when I first got into IFMA that I was like, oh wow, this is great. And I'm not super active, but I read it every day and I learn things from there. So use your other facility managers and your IFMA partners to help you learn and grow.
I will second that. I was just in an earlier session here at IFMA, and they were talking about IFMA Engage, and it certainly is a community that you can use to see what other people are doing and how they're managing facilities, what problems they're having, and it's really a collaborative approach to helping people solve that. So plug for IFMA and IFMA Engage. Go check it out if you haven't already. So talk to me about augmented and virtual reality technologies in FM and what you're seeing out there and how you're using that.
So one of the really cool things that I learned when I first got this role as the facility manager, we were in the middle of a chiller project upgrade. And what I learned from the commissioning agents is there's actually an augmented reality system that MEP contractors now have access to, where they can set it up in your existing mechanical plant, project the augmented new system in place, and you can walk in, manipulate valves, see how pipes run, all before the first screw is turned.
Wow.
You can identify problematic pipe intersections, spacing, fitting, everything, and you can manipulate the system. You, the vendor, the contractor, the installer, the architects, the designers, everyone can get in there and see what this system's going to do and whether it's actually going to work for you or not. Is it pricey? Yes, it is. Is it worth it in the long run? I think it is. Just so you're not 90% through that project and then that one pipe doesn't fit in that run, right, and now you've got to repipe half the mechanical room. If you use this project software, it really can be helpful. So, that's one of the biggest augmented reality ones that's out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think you also brought up a good point in talking about who within the whole team is included in some of these decisions, from the architects to the commissioning agents to the facilities directors.
Yep. To
all kind of help. And I was recently at the BCXA commissioning conference, and we talked about having, excuse the vacuum if you're hearing that in the background. They're almost opening the show here, where we came in on the sly here. But how all of these parties are really having to come together on pre-design phase or pre-planning phases. Again, whether it's before renovations are done on existing buildings or before entire buildings are commissioned and opened up to the occupants. But it's really important to have those conversations with each of those different partners in place to bring up, to confirm, to brainstorm on what's going to work and how your systems are running, because the worst thing to do is open up a new building or a new system, and now you're having to go and see what's wrong with it because something wasn't addressed in the beginning that could have been prevented.
Yep. And you can even involve the technician level person on this, simulate failures and have them diagnose and repair the new system right there as a training module.
Right.
While everything's still being designed, they can actually be learning the new system and how it works. So it's a really cool technology. It is very new. I think they said it's only been out and available on the general market for a couple of years now.
Wow.
So it's pretty impressive, cool stuff.
There seems to be some really interesting things either available now or coming down the pike that will look to, further enhance what we're doing here. So I want to move towards advice. We have about 5 minutes here left. What advice can you offer other facility managers who may be interested in using technology to help solve problems? And what are some questions that they should ask before making the leap to the providers of these different technologies?
So I have a little checklist of questions that I use. Number one, what's the problem, right? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And do we already have something in place that can solve it? So investigate your existing technologies. You may be sitting on something that you can utilize within your organization that you already have. Maybe it's not in your department. Maybe another department's using a piece of software that you could get access to, or personnel, tools, whatever that technology may be. So ask first, what problem are we trying to solve? Right? And then once you've identified the problem and then you've identified that you don't have the tools necessary, do your homework, do your research, go out to the various forums, contact your fellow facility managers, go to a local chapter meeting and talk about the problems that you're having, and listen to the advice that you get. You'll be amazed. There are so many smart people in this organization, and I'm just amazed by how many creative solutions come out of having conversations, right? So then take these ideas that you get from your fellow facility managers or your peers within your organization back to your team that's working on solving this problem. Have the conversation. Again, identify what the problem is for all of the stakeholders. What is the problem we're trying to solve? And then throw these ideas out. Have a brainstorming session. Throw it on a whiteboard, a big piece of butcher paper on the table. Be different, be creative in your problem solving process, right? That's gonna generate ideas. Heck, go down to the park, go to a local park, get outside of the office space. It makes your brain work different. Yeah. There's tons of studies that say changing your space makes your brain work different. So do that. Once you've identified what it is that you're solving, how you wanna solve it, and what technologies, then engage those industry professionals and trust them. They got where they are the same way you got where you are, by knowing what they do and doing it really, really well. So trust your industry professionals, use the relationships that you have, ask them for a demo. Show me what this thing can do. I've been on several new CMMS projects where our facilities teams have changed, and that was one of the first things we did. Hey, we need a demo. Or even in communications, we've started upgrading our communication systems through radio, VHF radio, walkie-talkies. We got demo models to come out, and so we could use them around our facility to see what works best and what doesn't. So no project or no solution is too small to use this process. Then experiment with it, test it, deploy it, retest it, experiment more, you get that feedback, right? Develop a metric for feedback. Don't just go around and say, so what do you think?
Great.
Huh, Stephanie? Did that work for you, Stephanie? Oh, it did? Okay, great. While that's valuable, it's not enough, right? You need some good metrics on your feedback. And every project's gonna be a little different. So develop those in that early brainstorming session. Then make your decision, pitch your plan and make your decision.
I think it's really important that you noted, be open-minded. It's always good to keep it simple, right? Always good to keep it simple. But I think you have to combine that with be open-minded, because what traditionally you may have done in the past, or you may have looked at, may not be the best way to do it now. There may be a simpler, faster, more efficient, cheaper way to do it with these new technologies in place. So it's certainly something to be open-minded about, to listen, to take in information, to digest, to talk with other community members who may be considering it as well, and learn from it, experiment with it. Like
right. Yeah, the most dangerous phrase in all of language is, well, we've always done it this way.
Exactly.
Right? So be innovative, be creative, try something out of the box, and you'll be amazed how much fun it can be. You're not just gonna fix it, you're gonna learn something, and so will the people around you. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. So one last question I have here. I know it's 10 o'clock, and By the way, thank you for tuning in here. We're talking with Fred Holder, Georgia Tech Facility Manager for the Recreation Center. If you had a wish list of technology or support to help manage your facility better, what would those top 3 items, solutions, personnel be?
Wow, that's a really big question because my facility is so diverse. We have so many different things in my facility, but I think a reliable CMMS that also does asset management and security protocols, like so that we can track door operations and inventory and work order systems all in one. That would be ideal. That would make my life. I wouldn't have 3 or 4 different systems to do that.
Right.
Enough personnel. We talk about technology a lot, but personnel is huge, and they can actually leverage the technology. You can have all the bells and whistles and gizmos. If you don't have people to operate them, they're just going to sit on a shelf and not do anything. So, and then lastly, an unlimited budget. Just give me that unlimited budget. That'd be my no.
It's my wish list too.
I think that's on everyone's.
House,
I think that's on everyone's. Realistically, I think that those first 3 I'm named, though, the CMMS being the most with all integrated tools.
Yeah.
That's really the best thing you can have.
That makes sense. Well, I really wanted to thank you for taking the time to stop by at our booth here at the IFMA World Workplace Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for sharing your insight, and hopefully you were all able to take away something from this conversation. Feel free to comment below any ideas that you're having or technologies that you found useful or innovative solutions and or problems that you're exhibiting, and let's start a conversation here. But again, thanks so much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of the IFMA conference, and we'll see you all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, y'all. Connect with me on LinkedIn. See you later.